Good evening, everyone. I am going to call the meeting, the May 3rd, 2023 Architectural Review Committee meeting to order at 7:00 p.m. We are going to skip number 2 and move to number 3, citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens signed up to speak? And we don't. So we will be moving on to number 4, the consent agenda. The consent agenda items are self-explanatory by the Architecture Review Committee or have been previously discussed and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a committee member so requests. Not subject to public discussion. The consent agenda involves 4.1, approval of the Architectural Review Committee meeting minutes April 3rd for 2023.
I move we accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, there's no discussion, so I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Okay, that was unanimous. Okay, so now we're going to move to our first item, regular agenda item, which is 5.1. It is a public hearing, discussion, and possible action on an application submitted by Edward Pate for CB 5778 Block 18 CHCB 219 Slimp Sub D, which is 1746 Lock Hill, Selma, Castle Hills, for the proposed addition of a 300 square foot party room / staging area. Did anyone sign up to speak for the public hearing? We don't have anyone to speak for the public hearing. So do we have a presentation from the applicant?
Can you open the public hearing?
Oh, my apologies. I opened the public hearing at 7:02.
And at this time, we have Mr. Edward Pape as part of the application for this project.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Edward Pape. I own a company called Vaquero Group. I'm a general contractor. This project has submitted initially we tried to submit for a permit. We understood we had to come through the architecture review process. This is a project for the veranda. The owner is Chef Mike Bomberg, sitting here behind me. When we submitted, I put my name down to represent. As it turned out, he was available to come in and accompany me, but I'll go ahead and speak. The presentations, as far as I understand, all I needed to do was what I submitted in the packet, and we provided it for you. There's several drawings, there's photographs, so forth and so on. This is a 300 square foot addition to an existing building. And as I understand it, the purpose is to have a staging area for use during parties and events. As the kitchen and the prep area is located across the compound, it's my understanding that when they plate up the meals in order to bring in for however many hundred of people are sitting in the party room, what they needed was a place to roll the carts that keep the food warm and then have somewhere to put them until they're all collectively there, and then they're ready to go and serve the people. So this gets attached to the existing building. The materials are essentially the same as what is on the existing building. The colors will be the same, and the architect has designed it in order to minimize the impact, especially to the trees there, because they've got some very nice trees. And so we're trying not to disturb those any more than we can possibly minimize it, and then have them. This is an unconditioned space. It's essentially more or less just either a dry storage, holding, and or staging area.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? I have a question. Are we open for discussion? We don't need to make a motion.
I would suggest closing
The public hearing.
closing the
first?
public hearing and then moving on to the next item to open up for discussion. And that way, Mr. Pape can answer any questions to the application.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Rapley. I will close the public hearing at 7:04. So now this item is now open for discussion. I do have one bit of a question. I didn't see any of the plans exactly where the property line is. Is there a setback required for the zoning of this property? It appears that it goes directly to the edge of the property on the drawings that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I don't know that that's on the prints that the architect prepared. I know we're a significant distance away from the property line.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because it's either 5 or 10 foot. So as long as that's on there, I just didn't see it. So I just wanted to double
Yeah,
check that.
there's an open area behind the existing building that's probably 22 to 24 feet wide that cars pass through to park behind on the other side and things like that.
So there's adequate room for a car. to
Yeah,
pass through.
wherever we are, we're nowhere near any sort of setback line.
Okay. Because on one, it looks like it's sitting right on the street. So that was my question there. No trees are being removed.
No trees are being removed. Thank you. Yeah, if you see on sheet A100, the dark areas, I think represent, the asphalt parking. Or some, maybe that's drainage, I'm not sure, that runs out to Slimp Drive. The portion in red or the kind of a burnt orange color. That accessory storage building you see in the top left corner is not part of this project. And the only one we're doing is what's labeled there as the new expansion.
Yeah, it was this one that made me have that question. Because
Yes,
it
ma'am.
looks like it's right up against the street.
Yeah,
So, but it's,
Yeah, but it's just the little burnt orange section there.
Okay.
Is the
Mhm.
actual, it's 300 square feet. It's pretty small.
dark orange.
Great.
Yeah,
Do we have any Aggies present? Sorry.
light maroon.
Sorry if anybody's an Aggie. I have one Aggie and one Longhorn at home, so all things to all people.
Any other questions or discussion from the committee? No? Okay, well, if there's no other questions or comments from the committee, I'm going to make a motion that ARC recommends the approval of this project to be sent to City Council to be reviewed at the next meeting.
I will second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you so much for coming this
Thank you very
evening.
much.
Okay,
Tuesday.
now we will move on to item 5.2, which is discussion and possible action on tree ordinance, including possible action on revisions. I have been told that Mr. Kilgore is going to give us some information on this subject. Is he
Real
sure?
quick, I would suggest in speaking to Mr. Kilgore, Mr. Schnall is not here as well. I know that Mr. Kilgore had discussions with Mr. Schnall post council on the tree ordinance. And so council had some feedback. They'd like to have it come back to them in June. I think with a little bit of more review tweaking by the ARC. So you also have the June meeting to do any more work on their notes or feedback that Mr. Kilgore has from council and still make the council meeting in June. So, and then I believe, if I'm correct, Mr. Kilgore, it's red and blue because council asked to see what it looked like presently and then what was changed. I believe that's a difference in the color scheme.
Yeah, the council asked for tracked changes.
Yeah.
So that's why you see the red and the blue. If I remember correctly, the blue is current draft. The red is original written ordinance or current ordinance.
I do know that council, when they asked for it to come back in June, I believe they're going to have a public hearing as well. So they just wanted to get a significant time back to ARC before coming back to council.
Okay, did anyone have any comments on reviewing this draft? I did have one maybe grammatical thing that I located under the very beginning, section 48-1 definitions under approved tree. It might read better if it says approved tree means one of the tree species below. Because right now it reads approved tree means one of tree species below. So I was just gonna let the city secretary know that that might just a grammatical change there.
Well, like I said, I think Mr. Kilgore can go over some of the feedback he heard from council, and then we can take this up at the June ARC meeting if everybody can meet before it goes back to council again.
Sounds good, Mr. Kilgore?
So it seemed to be generally well received by the council. There will be most probably council will schedule a public hearing on it once we give them the final version. They brought up some examples, some points of question. And 4824 got a little bit of comment. In part because we make exceptions in number 1 and number 2, specific to heritage trees, distinguishing them from protectable trees. And they thought that the heritage designation was a little bit redundant there because heritage trees are inherently protectable trees. So protectable trees encompasses the larger universe. So I think that's what they said.
Could you repeat that section? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Sorry, it's 4824, but now I'm doubting the words I just spoke. I made notes without commenting them myself, so I'm now questioning some of my own notes.